Hi everyone, it's Jennifer Savari with Papercrafting Adventures, and I am so excited about today's project. I know I always say that, but this is really a very special gift, and I can't wait to give these to friends. They're cards that hold 2 tea bags and some honey sticks. A personal message could be written on the back, or they could just be given as a gift to hold in a purse. They can be taken on an airplane to travel. I believe that honey sticks are okay for airplanes. And I got to use some fun pattern paper that has been in my stash for a long time, and as well as some new dies that really inspired this project. I made a bunch of examples because the possibilities are endless, and these go together really quickly. They look like they take a lot more time than what they really do. And they're just so much fun. They're fun to embellish, they're fun to make, and like I said, the design possibilities are endless. The cards, the paper combinations, and the tea. Those 3 things offer those endless possibilities. So in addition, just a little quick inspiration, I wanted to show one that holds 12 tea bags, and it's actually like a tea book that this was a cold care sampler. The dies I'll be using today come from Paper Discovery, which is the brand new line from Olga Direktorenko. And I was so excited. They're so beautiful but also so functional. In fact, I had come up with this idea in December, but was stuck on how to get the honey sticks to securely be in the cards without falling out. And this panel die set was the answer. So just to go through them just a little bit to show some of the examples I made, the floral and leaf corner die set made a wonderful background, and I know they're maple leaves, but I used them as tea leaves, and I just thought they were beautiful. And it was fun to put pattern papers back behind them. The flowers in the tag builder die set are spectacular. They layer, and I'll show some different ways that I used them. The panel die set is what really inspired me to keep going with this project. And when I saw these horizontal panels, 5 different panels come with this set, but these horizontal I knew would work perfect for the honey. Now you can, as you just saw, cut the actual panel out, but the beauty of these dies is that you don't have to. And so I was able to actually create the panels to the size that I needed because there was that option. And that's what makes a die set great, is the options that you can use with it. And talk about options. The card builder die set has frames that I used for every single one of my projects. And I'm using these frames for the little tea holders as well as embellishment for the front of the card. And you can cut, as you can see, there's 3 dies here. You can do the frame as I did on the front, and then the tea holders don't have the frame cut out of the center. We use that backing. And I love the little pattern that can be used for inlaying and adding extra embellishments. The native honey comes from Utah, and these sticks are my absolute favorite because they are very sturdy, which makes them perfect for this project, but also very good honey and easy to open. And I've just been so inspired by the tea bag wrappers. I love the tea as well, but especially the colors that Tezo comes in, and traditional medicinals with that cup of sunshine and all those wonderful, beautiful colors that could make incredible gifts for people. So let's get started. The base of the card is 6 7/16 by 7, and you're going to need 1 base. In addition, 3 sheets for the frames. We're going to cut out 3 frames. 2 3 by 7 for the base and out of acetate, as well as a 3 by 7 for the backing, which I forgot to put in here. And then the little acetate covers and the little honey pocket, which is 1 inch by 3 inch, and then we'll score it at a 1/2 inch. And another idea I wanted to give was for a belly band, and these work really great with these to secure them, especially if they're going to be used in travel or held in a purse, or if you just want to make sure that they're secure. And of course, pattern paper, sky's the limit there. And now it's time to die cut. And I start off with the frame, and this is going to be for the honey sleeve. So I use the outer portion of the frame and the frame design. I want that backing, and this, I could not believe it, is the perfect size for these honey sleeves. Now, this is a very intricate die, and usually you do need a shim. Here I'm just saving the little diamonds for inlays for later, but it doesn't matter for this particular frame because I only need the top and the bottom, and that cuts through the Big Shot just fine without a shim. So I cut the end off, and then I cut 2 at 2 5/8 inches, and this is going to give me the perfectly sized base for my honey sleeves. So to cut out the frame for the front, I do need a shim, and to use a shim, I just used a piece of cardstock underneath my sandwich on the Big Shot, and then I put in the little rectangle that fits within the nest there, and that will give me an actual frame. And this is what it looks like. Any color could have been used to put back behind that frame. I chose the same kind of ivory that I was using for the card base here, and you can see how I just took out the design element and it cut a solid frame for me that was the perfect dimension to glue the front onto. And so once again, so many possibilities here, but I went with just ivory on ivory. The next step was to score our base card at 3 inches on each side. So I'm rotating and scoring 3 inches from each side there. And this is going to give us a 3-inch by 7-inch card base with almost a half of an inch spine to give us some extra room for the honey and tea bags. The next step was to score the little honey or the tea sleeve, and I'm just scoring 3 score lines on each side. And I start off with the 5/8, 6/8, and 7/8. And again, that will give me the 3 score lines I need. And we're going to do a little tiny mini mountain fold here. And at first it seems daunting and it takes a while to get it, but I've made a ton of these and they go by really fast once you get the hang of it. And so I just start off by scoring the top line furthest from the edge, and then I do the line that is closest to the edge. So there will be 1 score line that has not been folded in between each scored line. And what this does is it gives you another little spine for your tea bag. And the next step is just to kind of start it and fold it in and squeeze it as you go. And then we'll score that with the bone folder again when it's all folded. But you've just got to kind of take control here and don't be afraid of that little score line. You can't mess it up. This just gives it a little bit of give so that if it's closed flat or has a tea bag, it'll be just the perfect size no matter what you've got in there. Once those are folded, it's just really simple to glue the little acetate window in. Now I could put my pattern paper in at this point. The reason I'm not in the habit of doing that is because I usually don't know what I'm going to put in there until I get the book done. And so I'm used to doing it this way, but you certainly could put the pattern paper in before you glue on this acetate window. But you just glue on each side up at the top there, and then you put it on that first little mountain fold so that it's up above that fold. I hope you can see it there. And you just simply close it. You can put it under some weight to dry while we're working on the next step, and then they'll be nice and tight. But you'll see me here, I just put a little glue behind the pattern paper and slide it in, and it works just fine. These are not fragile at all. And I just love how they're one piece of paper. When I was trying to design this back in December, I was trying to use border dies and glue them all together, and this just makes it so fast and easy. I centered the panel die in the 3x7 side panel for the honey sticks. And then once that was die cut, I laid the exact same size of acetate over top and put the die over top of that just for perfect positioning. And don't worry if it's not perfectly centered on that sheet. The beauty of this die is that the middle part that really, really matters is going to be perfect because it's the same die cut. So if you have to trim a little bit of the acetate that's showing, peeking out from behind the ivory at the end, that's okay. That's an easy fix. Whenever I die cut acetate, there's always little acetate hairs that kind of show up, and I just make sure to kind of wipe those off. And then I go ahead and cut the top frame and bottom frame away from both of these pieces. So that kind of makes an H, and that gives us room for the honey sticks to poke out the top and be nestled into that little honey stick pocket that we're going to be making. But the first step here is to glue the ivory and the acetate together. And this is going to give really, rigid strength to this very intricate die. And that's, when you're putting honey sticks in and out of the thing, they could rip so easily. So I think that's a very important step to do. And then this is the 1 inch by 3 inch piece that I've scored at 1/2 inch. And I'm just creating basically a little pocket. And so I made some tabs there, and you can see me lining up the end so that it folds over and aligns with the bottom of the card. And then I put one thin little strip of glue on each side to make the pocket. Next, I will glue one side of our, I'll call it our H, to the edge of the card, and we want this to match up perfectly. So you'll see me here making sure that you can't see it from the front. It's only seen from the inside, and you can see the top of the H there is kind of sticking out the top, so I'll just cut that off. No big deal there. And I forget to do the other side, but I did in the end, so if that's going to bug you, don't let it bug you. Now it will bug you. So I found that the easiest way, once this has a chance to dry a little bit, is to put the honey sticks inside to help with that curve. And you're just going to have to kind of take control here, be the boss of this paper. And once you get it along that line, you want the card to be able to fold there. So just kind of hold it down for a second. And the beauty of putting that curve in is, see how this prototype that I made was very curvy. We want these to lay flat, even with honey sticks on the inside. And so that's why we add that little curve in there with the honey sticks when we glue it down. The next step is just to simply put in the little the tea sleeves and glue those down, and make sure that the tea fits perfect, which it will because the dies are perfectly sized. And then it's just time to embellish. Now I'm using that frame that I've had sitting under weight, and you can see here, because this is a repeating pattern, I'm just cutting it straight down the middle of a diamond. And then I'm doing on the opposite side the same thing. I'm just cutting straight down the middle of a diamond. I'm really not meaning to line it up against that border. The edge, the inside edge there, it's just kind of happening that way. I'm really focused on that diamond. And then I'm going to be gluing these to opposite corners. If I did them, if I'm making a frame smaller and the same side of each page is altered, your eye may see it more than if you do two different corners, and that's why I do it that way. So I just made a little line out of a pencil, and I'm cutting right inside that line. I just wanted to know which triangle or which diamond to cut, basically. But I'm following my same rule as before, and I'm just cutting down the center of the diamond. And I know that if I make a straight cut, those two pieces are going to match up perfectly. And here I'm just gluing them together. And, you know, I am a perfectionist, and it bothers me when I'm making them. I feel like I can see it, but that's because I'm focused on it. You know, the top one you can see a little bit more than the bottom, but by the time it's put together, you'll never notice it again. Or you could put a little flower if it bothers you, or a leaf, you know, or other type of embellishment to cover that up if you wanted to. So these are the little flowers, and I stacked them, and I went white on white, and I just think this is so beautiful and elegant, and it's not bulky on the top, so it will, you know, fit in a purse nicely. And here you can see I was going to color that inside flower, and I decided to leave it white. I had my Copics out, everything was ready to make it colored, and I just thought it would be neat to show, you know, an idea for a bride or a bridal shower or baby shower, just endless possibilities and occasions for these little tea cards. Now here is that 3x7 panel that I put on the back just so that, you know, to give it a little bit more strength. But here is the finished card, and with the tea in it, and it's so simple but so elegant. And what a wonderful gift for anybody. You know, one thing that I thought would be a wonderful use for these is somebody who was waiting for somebody for maybe a surgical procedure, and they're nervous, and you maybe don't feel comfortable being at the hospital with them, but you want to let them know you're there. This would be a wonderful gift to give them. They could have a cup of tea. I think Tezo makes one called Calm that would be a really nice thing to throw in here. And, you know, it's just kind of like giving a little hug. And that's why I do this stuff, is to be able to give to people. And I hope that this inspires you with a wonderful gift as well. So I hope you have a great day, and if you liked this video, please click like and subscribe if you want to see more. Have a great day, and we'll see you again very soon.